Transportation is so important in the rural areas. You know, just here in Rutherford County, we're over 550 square miles. That's a lot of distance to get from one place to another. And if you don't have access to a car, you are really stuck at home. And our mission is driving possibilities. Rutherford County Transit provides a great many services to our citizens. We provide roughly 300 trips a day for people. And on an annual basis, we provide 55,000 trips throughout the year. So some of those are medical trips, some of them are food trips to either food pantries or grocery stores, some are employment trips, and some are just general need type trips that we provide for individuals. Anybody in the county can access us. Transit does not collect any fares from any individual. On the Tri-City Express, it's easy, that's free. You can hop on, hop off all day long, and we cover the cost of that through our own sources as well as some state funds. On the door-to-door service, we also don't collect funds, but we use grant funds for that. So you do have to fit into a certain pocket for certain trips. So if you have Medicaid, you can get any number of medical trips that you want, and we can take those. That doesn't cost you anything. If you don't have Medicaid, we have funding if you're over 60 or if you're disabled. Right now we allow 4 trips a month. We manage that with our grants, so trips increase or decrease depending on how our grant funds are running. Transit is funded through a couple of different sources, but I think the thing we are most proud of is we don't use any local county dollars to fund transit. We're self-sufficient. We are run through the Rutherford County Department of Government, but we utilize federal funds, state grant funds, and we produce our own revenue through several contract services and Medicaid revenue. We also have some funding that helps take people to either cancer appointments or access to food, and it's mostly food that we do. So we have a lot of people we take to Walmart, we take a lot of people to the grocery store and to many of the food pantries, and all of that is for free. If somebody has another need that doesn't fit in that, we try to find a solution if we can. To see what's the best fit and try to connect the dots for them. We're getting ready to make our first change in 5 years that will go into effect in people are going for employment to different jobs. And so we're extending our hours to after 5, and we're going to start earlier because Isothermal Community College came and asked us if we could get the buses there before 8 a.m. It hadn't occurred to us that our buses were getting to ICC at 8:30, and therefore students either weren't going to morning classes or were having to come late. We had the same thing with the courthouse, asked if we could make sure to be there before 9 so anybody going to court could be there on time. And so we're super excited. We're adding a couple new commercial businesses that people wanted, as well as adding several key residential areas that needed access to the route. Some really great positive impacts that are just very recent, as it happens to be. We've had a program we started this year back in July. We get some employment funds from the state, and it's hard to know how to disperse those equally, and they run out very quickly. And so what we started this year was we will provide 60 days of free transportation to anybody going to work. The goal being that might help you get the job, get to work, get a couple paychecks, and figure out your long-term transportation within that 60 days parameter. And it has been so beneficial. We have taken over, I think when I looked the other day, we have over 800 trips we've done for employment, and 2 different people, 2 different weeks in this last month called us. Both of them called to say they didn't need our services anymore, thanked us for what we had done, but they didn't need it because they both were able to buy a car. And that is 100% the reason why we do what we do. And that was the goal. You know, we're looking for ways to get transportation to the community college. We haven't found that grant source yet, but our passion is if we can get people to the community college to get trained and then give them 60 days of free transportation to work, we can change people's lives. And that is our mission. We had an individual just recently who we have taken to dialysis 3 times a week for years. We take a lot of passengers to dialysis, and they struggle, and it's hard on them, but they write a lot. And one called to say she wasn't going to need our services anymore. And generally, it's because their health is declining when that happens, or they stop writing entirely. But in this particular case, she called because she had received a kidney. And you don't ever see that. with dialysis passengers, and that makes working at Transit 100% worth it every single day. To know that we were able to help get her to services to save her life that made her healthy enough to be eligible for a transplant. And that is great. One of the other things that was very meaningful to us in the last few months is we played a key role with Hurricane Helene. You don't normally think about transit agencies being involved in public safety efforts. And the morning of the storm, I got a call from the emergency management director at 3 a.m. saying that he needed access to our vans. They needed to start moving people out of the Lake Lure and Chimney Rock area. There was no service. I couldn't reach any of my drivers, and under a state of emergency, anybody can drive transit vehicles. So I told him he knew how to get into our building, told him what to take, and he grabbed a couple of vans, and actually our EMS personnel drove those vans that first hazardous morning and night. And then early the next morning, I was able to reach our operations manager, Jeff Hill, here on site. I got my husband, and I got a county commissioner, Mike Benfield, and the four of us ran evacuations on Saturday all day. I couldn't get hold of any of my other drivers. We called everybody, but cell service was down. All we had were radios we were using for public safety, and the four of us ran service that key day on Saturday, and we transported over 100 people out of the Chimney Rock Lake Lure area. And these are individuals who had been helicoptered out of Chimney Rock primarily to the Bills Creek Fire Department. They landed there, and when they landed, they then boarded our vans, and we took them to the emergency shelter and then worked closely getting their information to marry up the missing persons list, because as we all know, in the whole region, no one could find anybody, no one could talk to anybody, so trying to work with them on the missing persons was really key. Transit continued doing evacuations for that whole next week. It tapered off after we got most of the people out by helicopter, but driving one of those vans myself with passengers who had been through such a traumatic experience, it was an honor just to be able to know that I was getting them to safety after all that they had been through. And Transit loves being a part of that emergency services opportunity, and hope we can in the future. National Guard came in and they needed a vehicle to use just to get around, because their vehicles were enormous. So we were able to loan them one of our transit vans for about a month that they used as well for those purposes. Then after the fact, we did quite a bit of transportation, getting people to the supply and donation sites where they could get food, water, and all the necessities, because even though the rest of the county wasn't hit as hard as Chimney Rock and Lake Lure, most of the county was without power for at least 2 weeks. 2 weeks with no food in your refrigerator and no power. People really needed those services, so we were really happy to be able to just jump in, provide that service, and figure it out, because that was the right thing to do. I think it's important to realize that transportation is not just about getting one place to another. It's about helping people. And when you realize the people you're helping, it is the most rewarding job in the world.